All right, what is up, everybody? Eddie Barco here once again, and welcome to the Nebula Music Podcast. As many of you guys already know, but if you're joining us for the very first time, let me give you the little rundown here. This is a show where we explore creative minds of the music industry, and lately we've had the opportunity to have so many different kinds of people come on this show that are not necessarily strictly from the music industry. They're musicians, but they might do other things. And the goal here is to explore their mindset, explore what's on their mind, and see what drives their passion. And hopefully that can inspire you to do something similar. And today I have somebody who I've been looking forward to interviewing them for a couple of weeks now. They're incredibly talented. They've got some cool music out, but I mean, this person is incredibly talented. They do so much, and I cannot wait to dive into this man's career and just what drives his passion. I have Mr. Nicholas Hamilton joining me today. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. I appreciate that. It's very nice of you.
Oh, and you know what? It's not nice of me at all. I just say it how I see it. I don't invite anybody on the show that I don't feel deserves that kind of intro. So I know to my audience, it can seem a little redundant, all the intros that I do, but I try my best to be honest.
Yeah, right.
Like if I don't think you're cool, I won't invite you on the show. So I know before the show, we were starting to talk about how you've been dealing with this past year and all. And even though I feel like at the time of recording this interview, which is in February, I imagine that, hopefully things will start improving this year and we will somewhat go back to normalcy. But I've been asking everybody that's been coming on the show the past couple months, how has this whole pandemic and this whole year been treating you? Like, how have you been dealing with it? Has it been okay? Do you feel like you've been more productive? Or I don't know, because everyone's been dealing with it differently. And so I just want to kind of wrap my head around how you've been dealing with it.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like I'm in a weird situation because I obviously grew up in Australia and I moved out here start of 2019 and had like a full year of kind of normalcy. And then 2020 hit and I was like, so basically at this point, I think I've had pretty 50-50 pandemic year and regular year in LA. So I don't know, it's changed up my schedule obviously a ton. And I don't really have anyone over here family wise that I can kind of reach out to and be with, and I live alone, and I don't know, it's I think at the end of the day, it's probably enhanced my creativity and productivity because I'm stuck inside and I can't really do anything else except for like do auditions and write music. And the auditions weren't happening for a very long time. So I was basically just kind of sitting at my piano and crying all day. And that was my work day. And that hasn't changed much, I'll admit.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, so I'm going to preface this a little bit by saying that Nicholas is a very talented actor and you're involved in many, many different projects that I think a lot of people would be aware of, but you also are a musician. So we will definitely dive into that sort of thing, but I just wanted to make sure that people understand, the kind of talent that we're talking to today. I'm wondering, this is not something I've always wanted to ask somebody because I've had several people from like New Zealand and Australia on the show, but it's one thing it's never occurred to me to ask this. But to me personally, it's not new to have somebody in the entertainment industry move from another state here in the United States, to LA or New York or wherever to like pursue their passion. But, Australia to the US is a huge leap. I imagine it's one of the biggest leaps because it's so far away out of most countries, and I'm wondering, for you, when you decided to move over here to the US just maybe 2 years ago, that emotional decision, was it very clear that that's what you wanted to do? Was it primarily more for like career choice, or was it something that just sort of happened? Because I feel like it's different for everybody, but I'm wondering for you, was it like a very intent choice? Like, all right, I'm going to leave everything I know behind and move like thousands of miles away to LA to do my thing, or I don't know. I'm just wondering.
No, it was fully intentional. It was, I've always kind of been, because I've been acting since I was 11. So I've been in and out of LA kind of ever since then. But yeah, I moved when I was 18. I pretty much, as soon as I graduated high school, I came over here, and that was always the plan. I was always been like an independent soul. And I just wanted to kind of get out of my small town that I grew up in and come out here and do what I kind of love doing and wanted to do. And, yeah, man, I think it was always the plan ever since I started acting in the States when I was about 14.
Yeah, so you weren't new to coming to the States then?
No, not at all. And I always loved it. I always loved LA, and it was just kind of felt growing up in a town. I think my town that I grew up in has like a population of 4,000, I think. If I'm
Jesus.
Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so coming out over here, not only to kind of be here, but also work here and feel like you're in the middle of LA and kind of you're one of the people that should be here. It always felt really, really special. And that's, I don't think that's changed, weirdly enough. I was at, after all this time, I went to the beach the other day for the first time ever since coming here.
Nice. Which
Managed
one?
I managed to get to like this really like secluded one in Malibu. It was sick because we didn't want to be anywhere near anyone else. But it was like lined with palm trees, and that was still sick to me. Like I've been here for 2 years, and just like seeing palm trees on the beach is still massive.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And LA has a lot of those beaches that I absolutely love. I feel like you can find so many hidden little gems. That's the one thing I love about LA. And you know, you can say the same thing about so many different metropolises that they all have their like secret hidden spots, but LA has a bunch of them. It just takes a while and a lot of effort to try and find all of them, if you know what I mean. One thing I wanted to ask you, because I feel like you have a unique perspective, and this is something that I've kind of just observed over the past couple of weeks, and I wanted to get your 2 cents on it as somebody who, you know, moved from a different country to LA and seems to be enjoying it. There's this trend lately, and I'm not sure if you're aware of it, but there's a lot of people that are sort of leaving California, not just LA, but you know, for the past, I'm from here, by the way, like I'm born and raised in LA, and I've been everywhere, but this is my home. And I have seen that the past 10 years there's been this huge influx of people moving in to California and LA. But lately maybe it's because of the pandemic, I don't know, but there's a lot of people leaving. And a lot of the excuses, you know, it's different for everybody, obviously. But what I've observed is the same answers usually tend to be that they feel like people are too fake, or it's too hard to get around, or that they feel incredibly lonely when they're here. They tend to be those three, and then they tend to move somewhere else. Now, I know you started sort of mentioning something like that earlier. I imagine it's because of the pandemic, but I'm wondering for you, you moved here when you were 18, which is a very pivotal year. You were already here and used to coming to the U.S., but, you know, being 18, that's a huge life choice. And I'm wondering for you, I don't want to say excuses because everyone is different, but in your opinion, do you find that those reasons that I gave, are they true in your opinion? Like, as somebody who's come from a different country and came here at a very young age, do you feel like LA and California is, you know, does it have that vibe? I'm just wondering.
I guess so, just because there's so many people here, man. And I think, again, growing up in such a small town, it's less so the lonely thing, because I guess I grew up in a place where I didn't have a ton of friends. And if you weren't in one friend group, then that's pretty much the only one you got to choose from. But there's so many people here, but it is so spread out too. Like, you go to New York, and I feel like it's a lot harder to feel like you're alone, because everyone's doing the same thing. They're all going, trying to be successful in New York, and you're always around people and shit. And there was points before the pandemic when I first moved here, like March, February of 2019, when I didn't have any friends over here yet, and I could go like a full 2 weeks of just not seeing anyone that I knew or talk to anyone that I knew. And I think that's a rarity, that you can go to some place as massive as LA and as kind of popular, but still feel lonely. It's quite easy to feel lonely, and that's I don't know. That could be the reason why I'm contemplating leaving here. I love LA, and I don't think I'd ever want to leave if I didn't have to. But I think if I do have to go back home, if that's a thing that has to happen pandemic-wise, then, I mean, I'll be going back to the place that I know, and I can, not only that, but Australia, the pandemic doesn't exist there right now. So I can go and gig and shit, and I can work and stuff, and it doesn't feel like there's any boundaries there.
You'd have to quarantine for like 2 weeks though, right?
Yeah. I'd have to land, fly in, and then land, and the cops escort you to a hotel, not of your choice. They just pick one for you. And you're there for 14 days, three meals a day. I think it's $3,000 you have to pay for 3 meals a day with a 14-day hotel. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys do not mess around. You guys don't want that.
I mean, and you can see how it's working.
Yeah, it's true. I think there was I'm not sure if this is real or not, but I did see somebody post somewhere on Instagram on a very big account that they had a concert, I think in New Zealand or in Australia. I wasn't sure where it was, but I guess it was successful because the pandemic didn't exist or something. I
Mm.
don't know. I don't know if that's real or not, but that's, I can hope
Yeah, no, it's
that.
true. And shows can happen there. Like there's big like EDM raves and stuff.
Whoa,
And
that's
that's just
cool.
like, you can just do it. And that's sick to me. Like the ability to, now that I'm releasing music and stuff, if the day comes that I do have to go home and kind of uproot everything here and head back, then I can like tour the country and actually do what I want to be doing over here, just kind of over there.
Yeah. So can I ask you, and again, this is a random topic that we are talking about, but is that something that you're actually contemplating, or are you just saying like in case that ever happens, you would consider going somewhere else? Or is that something that you're actually considering right now, like, going back home or doing something else?
Well, it's less of a considering thing. I guess it's more like if I didn't account for the possibility that that might happen. Kind of, I mean, the pandemic has ruined everyone financially, but like,
Yeah.
I haven't worked since March last year, and that was a small gig.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I don't have to head back, but I think it'd be silly for me to deny that that's a possibility.
In the film industry that you're currently in, I know that you are working, you just released music, and I know that you had a cover that did fairly well a while back, but I know that you were heavily involved in the film industry. I know that they've tried to open up. I know that, there's some productions that are up and running. I don't know a lot of it. I know I'm involved in it a little bit, but not like you. And I'm wondering, someone like you who's in it, do you feel like it is possible for it to fully come back within the next year or two, or is that impossible?
I mean, it all depends on the vaccines, man. I think film contracts now are starting, like the kind of more expensive film contracts are starting to put a vaccine clause in the contracts for everyone. So you have to be vaccinated to be on set. So that's kind of, it's making people, like even the crew, so the studio would pay for their vaccination and kind of expediting it. So, I mean, if that keeps happening, I think the really annoying thing is that the only things that can film probably in 2021 is stuff backed by big studios that can afford the pandemic insurance. And
right.
Because I mean, so if someone does catch it on set, to pause for a full 3 to 4 weeks, and if you're in a different country or location and you have to house everyone for 4 weeks, like that's so expensive, dude. So it's really only like Netflix and Universal and the big studios that can really kind of afford that risk.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do feel like you painted an interesting perspective there. I didn't think about it before, but productions are really, really huge. I know that musicians are somewhat aware of how big they are, but I remember when I first saw how big productions can get, I was amazed. It's like a small little company that's working on this film or TV show or whatever, and to put that on pause, it's just ridiculous. I don't know, man. I'm wondering for you, like, do you feel like when it comes to where we're currently at as creatives, and I mean this across the board, acting, entertainment, painting, whatever it may be, do you feel like this time has served in a way to kind of like strengthen the creative mindset or the creatives pursuing their career, or do you feel like it's just done the opposite? I mean, I imagine it depends on everybody, right?
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit of both, actually. I think it's annoyingly, I'm sure for the established artists that were touring or had planned a tour or planned some gigs that they can't do. Like I think everyone knows that the majority of a musician's finance comes from ticket sales and stuff. So I guess for the established artists that have been working for a little bit, I'm sure it's really difficult. But at the same time, like we can't do anything but create now. Like I've got all the time in the world now to sit at my piano and write songs all day, every day. Like that's, I think that's a real blessing. And I don't think it's a shitty thought to have, but I don't think if the pandemic hadn't happened, I don't think I'd have music out now or kind of planning more releases because I just wouldn't have the time. And I guess that's one upside of like being able to, I don't know, not work for a full year is to work on stuff that I really enjoy doing and furthering that creative part of my mind.
Interesting. So without the pandemic, you don't feel like you would have pursued music as heavily as you are now?
Yeah, well, I was still writing songs. Like that was, but it just kind of only turned into a real thing. I mean, my first recording session for a song was August of last year. So that's, it's telling that I've been writing songs since 2018, but it only kind of turned into a real thing late last year.
Gotcha. How has your experience been like? Because I know that you just released, like, I think it was your first single, right? That you just released.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How was your experience through that whole process? I know that you're still probably promoting it and still, working with it and all of that. But in my experience, right, here in LA, I feel like there were, and I don't know if you agree with this, but this is what I've observed as being a local. In general, people in the music industry tend to be from the music industry, and they tend to like they started out in music and they're still doing that. Obviously in LA, everyone does a little bit of everything, right? But I do find that a lot of musicians, that's kind of what they do, and that's all they do, right? Whether it's producing or writing songs or playing guitar or whatever, it's like music, they eat and breathe it in general, not always. But I am starting to meet more people like you who kind of cross many different worlds. I had another wonderful guest, Kira Santoro, who's a model, actress as well, and venturing into music. So there's a lot of crossover happening, but I find that you guys approach, and by you guys I mean like people that are from other industries who also are very talented in music, you approach it in a very different way. So I'm wondering if for you, how has your experience been releasing this first release? Do you find yourself in your element? Do you feel like you might be out of your element? And do you find that it's easy or challenging to, focus on the music side of things, especially coming from a different facet of the industry, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, I guess it's a matter of everything. I love being busy. I love working so much. It's just kind of in my nature, and I think it all comes from my mum. We're just very passionate people about whatever we do, and I don't know. I don't think now that there was like a 6-month period where there really was scarce auditions, and they're coming back and in now, but really having nothing else to do but write music and commit to releasing it. And I mean, I love music, man. I've always loved music, and it's been a big part of my life for a very long time. And I think I always knew I wanted to be in the entertainment industry or be creative in some way ever since I was a kid. But I really do feel at home in the music world. I know that I really, really enjoy writing songs, and I think the songs that I write, especially with other people and by myself crying on a piano, like I said, are of quality. And I think I don't know, that's where I feel the most comfortable. And I don't think there's any feeling that reaches currently being on a set. Like I love being on set and being able to do what I love in front of a camera, but recording and having this whole experience of releasing the first song different year and kind of fully delving into music as an industry, it's given me an idea of what I do want to do in the future. And I think the biggest thing that I wanted to stray away from was, like you said, so many actors go into music, and I think it's because of creative control. We have the most control over our music, but not really over what we do on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, I really wanted to avoid being the actor who is a musician just because he wanted to be another thing. And like the guy who makes teeny bopper songs for his kind of already existing 16-year-old fans. I want to make stuff that is good and kind of stands alone by itself. And I'm hoping I'm doing that.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. I feel like, there's many people, like you said, that do crossover, and this is not just unique to the music industry. I feel like we see it a lot in the music industry, but there are tons of people in other industries that do the same thing, where they get successful in one thing, cross over to the next thing, and they kind of have a bit of an advantage. To me, it's not really a problem for me, but I do see what you're saying, and there is this sort of gap in terms of acceptance and talent that I see from the audience perspective, whether somebody is just using their current existing audience or if they actually earned it. And for you, actually, I feel like you are the latter. Like I do feel like you are incredibly talented, and
I appreciate that.
You have good songwriting sense, which is, I don't think you hired somebody or anything. Like you completely wrote your music, and I love that. I'm wondering for you, and this might be, this question might not even be able to be answered because we're in the pandemic and stuff, but I always am interested to see how people from other industries, how they feel they've been not accepted, but how has their reception been amongst other musicians. Now, normally what would happen without that pandemic is you'd write a song, you'd perform it, and then you'd get to mingle with other musicians, and you kind of
Sure.
would feel what I'm saying, right? But for you specifically, do you feel like in the music industry, your fans or maybe other musicians, do you feel like your venture into music has been widely, not even widely, but has it been received well? Do you feel like it's been kind of medium for you? Or what I'm really asking, without trying to be too direct, but this is because I'm a musician, so I know how we think. Has anyone ever been very like how do I say it? Jealous, I guess you can say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I don't think so. I think it's I've been very lucky. I am very lucky to have a fan base kind of that's already kind of established with it and my previous ventures. That I can kind of use them as building blocks, right? Like
Right.
I don't know that every single one of my Instagram followers likes music, let alone the music that I make, and is interested in that at all. And releasing something and seeing like the analytics and stuff, it's given me an idea of where I can go from here. And it's weird. I saw the numbers originally and they were less than we were expecting, kind of conversion rate from Instagram to and TikTok to streams and stuff. But that weirdly gave me comfort because I have never wanted to be the kind of person in the spotlight who just does stuff and that's always just accepted and everyone thinks it's great and that's that. He'll just kind of get success no matter where he leans. I want to work for what I want to get to. Like I love the fact that I need to work now to get the conversion rate, and the people that already know me from it and kind of Fantastic and all the stuff I've done on film, I need to get those people onto Spotify and onto Apple Music and streaming services to listen to my stuff and to care. And that's so exciting to me that I get to actually work my ass off to make people care about me. Because I guess I did that when I was starting acting and kind of wanting to be in bigger projects and establishing a social media presence that made people care about me and about the characters I was kind of portraying. And now I feel like I'm doing that all over again. And that's really, really exciting to me, weirdly enough.
So you have a bit of a competitive nature then.
Oh, 1,000%, dude. That's I mean, going back to your question about like the other musicians though, it's like, it feels like all the people that I've talked to, it has to matter how good the music is, which is cool. Like, I think if I went to someone and they knew I was an actor and they're a musician, I was like, hey, I've got this song coming out, and they listened to it and it was that kind of just teeny bopper bullshit that is just made so little kids will listen to it and they'll just react to it. I don't think we'd be receiving kind of the respect from my musician friends that I've already established, which is good. I mean, I already have those friends who would give me, like, if they heard that from me, they'd tell me. And if they didn't think that the stuff was quality, they'd tell me that, which is great. Like, again, it all leads back to earning respect. And I love having to earn people's respect in the music industry compared to the film industry.
Yeah, and I do feel like, again, this is me speaking as a musician, but everybody, my words are just my words. Who knows? Like, I don't know if I don't speak for all musicians, but I do speak from my own experience, and I do feel like, in my experience, I feel like the music industry is one of the hardest, not necessarily to break into, but like you were saying, it's one of the hardest to earn respect from. Because I do feel like, and again, this is me just pulling things out of my ass, but I do feel like with other genres of things to do, other like I'm not even sure if it's acting, but definitely other types of creative things, there are challenges, and there are that little wall you have to break through. But I do find it that because music is so huge and gigantic, people get very personal with their music. They're very picky with what they like, and they can be very upset when they feel like the game isn't fair. But I mean, in my opinion, the game is never even fair, and that's a conversation for another time. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, when it comes to TikTok specifically, because I know that you mentioned that you were like marketing there in a little bit. One thing I've been hearing from the grapevine and some of my other friends and industry people, I want to see what your thoughts on this are. I find that there is this consensus that TikTok is somewhat ruining the whole natural music discovery. Now, I'm not saying that from like an old man's perspective. Like I'm a huge proponent for technology and using it, but what I'm finding is there is this pattern of of trying to find the next TikTok hit that people are going to like dance to or do a challenge to, but then people don't even know what that song is. They just know that little snippet of the song, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In your opinion, I'm just wondering, what do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's a mixture of both. TikTok really excites me for the main reason is that stuff like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all those are really good for reaching out to fans that already know you and like interacting with those kind of established fans that you have.
Yeah.
TikTok is phenomenal with helping strangers find you. Like getting new fans is so fucking awesome on TikTok because people are on there scrolling through their FYP all day. They don't look at their following that often. They look at people who they've never seen before. And if they like someone's music, then that's a new fan. Like it's so, I think that's really cool to me that people can find indie musicians so much easier. And the amount of vocalists that I've seen come out of TikTok and are making smash hits on streaming now is awesome because it's people who I don't think without that, it would have been as easy for them to break into the industry.
Yeah.
But in regards to the charting, I think I agree with you. It's less so, I think, that people only know a snippet of a song because of a trend. I think it's more that I don't know how streams compared to like video views work out, but it seems like at least during like the middle of last year when TikTok was really exploding, it seemed like the top 10 was like all TikTok songs. It was all kind of Megan Thee Stallion and all that, people who their songs are only big because someone on TikTok made a dance about it and stuff like that. But that's, I mean, the music industry forever has been rapidly evolving forever and ever and ever and ever it will. Like TikTok's so new, it's like a year old, year and a half old in regards to relevance. But that's just a new phase of music, and that's always going to TikTok will phase out eventually, as everything does, and something else will replace it. And there was always something that the people who grew up with something different are mad about, and they will always be mad about the thing that they didn't grow up with. It's the mindset that even now, like I'm 20, and like seeing kids do stuff and do like activities that I didn't do as a kid and that are kind of seemingly more younger generation and more techie and shit. And it's easy to look at that and go, oh, that's different, so it's bad. But no, I mean, there's bad and good aspects of TikTok. And I think the biggest, coolest thing to me is that indie artists are getting discovered so much easier. And TikTok's completely free to post on. You don't have to promote anything on it. It feels like people are gaining more and more respect and success from something that's so easy, which is awesome.
Yeah, and the algorithm on TikTok is amazing.
Phenomenal, dude.
You're absolutely right. I think anyone can just get on there and find exactly what they want to see without even knowing what they're going to see. So there is definitely potential. I know that a lot of people have different thoughts on this platform, but you're absolutely right too. Like that's not new in terms of things changing. Like the music industry is always ever changing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I've never been a fan of standing in the way of progress. But I don't know, dude. Like I find that I'm 30, by the way, just throwing that out there. We have like a 10-year gap. And so I love that you're in this zone where you're experiencing a lot of like new things and you're using technology to your advantage. I remember I went back to my old college like a year ago, and I saw all the like the scooters and stuff. And I remember being like, wow, my campus is huge, right? And I remember just thinking like, wow, 7 years, I graduated and I would have loved to have the scooter to get to class faster, but I don't know. I'm just fucking rambling here. I want to transition a little bit to talking about some of the work that you've done before, if you don't mind, just to give some of the listeners a little bit of context, because you are an incredibly talented actor and musician as well, but you have been involved in some projects that a lot of people would recognize you from. And I know that many people that listen to the show are mostly indie musicians, people that, are trying to do the band thing or their music thing, and they've never set foot on a set before. Even if that's their dream, they've never done it before. So I'm wondering if you don't mind giving me a little like lowdown, a little rundown of how you got into acting and in some of the projects that you've been involved in.
Yeah, of course. So I started when I was 11 in my small town, like I said. And I was in a school play, really, really loved it. And so I joined an agent in my small town. Luckily, there was one in the 50-kilometer radius. Joined with them, got us a few small jobs, got recognized from a few of those and got a bigger agent from that and got some bigger jobs, and it just kind of snowballed from there. I think the ones that I'm most known for in different ways, obviously there's It and It Chapter 2. I played the kid with the mullet. I have to say that all the time.
Your name was Henry Bauer.
Henry
right?
Bowers,
That's the character's name, yeah.
The kid with the bully with the mullet. And then for the more kind of film aficionados, I was in Captain Fantastic with Viggo Mortensen when I was 14. That came out in 2016.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, I really, really have genuinely always loved acting, and I think, like I said, the feeling of being on a set is unrivaled, in my opinion, because it feels like people are working and they're doing stuff that will entertain generations, and that's really cool to me. I guess, hang on, I'm going to stop this vacuum that's outside. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever.
You got to keep the place clean, man.
Look, man, that's just me.
You're cleaning with your right hand as you're doing this.
Yeah, exactly, man. I'm a multitasker.
I love it.
I genuinely really, really love being on set, but like going into something like music and kind of transitioning from that, like I said, I think the reason why a lot of actors go into music is because when you are on set, you are under the behest of directors, writers, and producers. You're reading someone else's words into a camera, and you can decide how you're acting and stuff. And the best directors will let an actor decide how they act. But writing songs that are about stuff that happened to me and about people and relationships that I've had, it's having that creative control that I think I've craved for a very, very long time. So I think that's why it feels like such a natural fit.
So do you feel like, and again, this is unique to everybody, and so I'm wondering what you think, but do you feel like acting can be a little bit draining on your creativity, since, you know, most of the time, not always, but sometimes you need to obviously be on a schedule. There are notes that you have to follow. They give you the lines, and the director tells you how to act and feel, and so you kind of just have to, from, you know, this is from an outsider speaking in, you have to sort of create what this person's telling you to do, versus the opposite, where in music you're kind of doing whatever you want. There's nuances there. Some people would argue that the music industry is controlling as well, and we can get into that. But I'm wondering, for you specifically, do you find the differences that in acting it can be a little more creative, draining when in terms of creativity at all? Do you feel like
I guess it's less of a draining thing and more actors are paid so fucking much to do their job, man. And it's like you get on set to do what you really want to do, and kind of just do your hobby in front of a camera as your career, and that's awesome to me. But like I said, you feel like at the end of the day it's not yours, and I've talked to directors before, and the directors of the stuff I've made in the past are really good mates of mine, and I talked to them when I was releasing stuff, and I was like, is this what it feels like when you release something? Or is it how you feel when you're a writer and you see an actor actually acting out the scene that you wrote on camera? Like I asked if that was a similar feeling, and it's the same. Like, it's because they have been a part of that from day one, and now they're releasing their baby out to the audience. And that feels like, I feel like it might even be more so on a musician's end, because especially for me, I write songs about stuff that's happened to me in a very candid kind of fashion, and I'm not like I don't shy away from like putting names in songs and stuff. Like I'm
ooh, dangerous territory.
It's dangerous, man. But I feel like it's just like, I love being so open and so candid, because I haven't been able to be that in a public forum for so long. And being able to write stuff that is genuinely, it's just like therapy. It's like it's a diary entry that people get to read and to listen to. So that's I guess that's why it's so intriguing to me, and that's I'm lucky to have that musical bone in my body, because I don't know what I'd do for creative control if it wasn't that.
Are you ever afraid that, and again, I'm not saying this is going to happen, and I feel like I'm just asking you random questions. I apologize. I'm just curious.
I'm here. It's fine.
You ever feel like, I'm glad and I'm happy that you feel comfortable to be open in your music. And I feel like that's the way it should be. I think that getting to the point where it's too formulaic, while it has its advantages, I do feel like you sacrifice some creativity and some, personality with that process. But I'm wondering, since you are sort of in two worlds at once, you ever worry that what you create in the music world might ever come back to haunt you in the acting world, like especially if you're name calling? I'm not saying you are. I'm just wondering, like, is that a thought that's ever crossed your mind? Like, oh, maybe I don't know. I don't know if this is ever gonna shine. Because lately, and again, this is just me speculative. I know that lately there is this sort of I don't know how you'd call it, trend or pattern for calling people out on things that need to be called out, mind you. But I'm wondering, like for you, since you do have this passion to be honest, you ever worry that
Sorry,
that
that's me. Hang on 2 seconds. Sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering, like, I think honesty is needed, but I know so many people in the music industry who only do music who are deathly afraid of being honest in their music. So I'm wondering, for someone like you who's in both worlds, I imagine that risk would be even bigger. So I'm just wondering, like, does that thought ever cross your mind, like worrying about what could potentially happen in the future if you are way too honest with your music?
I guess so. I mean, I think the really exciting thing about the social media age is, as much as people like to say that there's so many fake people on social media and they're only posting stuff that they want people to see and stuff, especially with the kind of the arrival of TikTok and apps that really encourage authenticity. Like, people are just recording their daily life and putting it out there. Like, that aligns for me with stuff that's been happening for a long time. It's turning, celebrityism is turning more into the authentic range. And I think being authentic in songs is, as a singer-songwriter / actor, I think if it does anything, it benefits it, because I've been in a struggle for a little bit with, I'm Henry Bowers. Like, people know me as Henry Bowers, and that's kind of, I'm that character to them. And you'll still see that on all my TikTok comments. It's always people finding me and saying, "Oh my God, Henry Bowers!" Like, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, I put myself in that position, and I'm incredibly grateful that I was able to have that kind of role. But being able to be myself and being as authentic as I can in my music, I think allows me to become more of an actor with more range, and being able to be kind of taken as myself, just in different roles. I think it all leans into how, it's like fame and stardom has turned into more of like an authentic thing, and people want to see their favorite celebrities as regular people. And I think that's, if anything, it helps, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the whole concept of being a celebrity is changing. I don't think it's dying out. I know some people are arguing that it's dying out. I don't think it is. I think, like you were saying, it is changing where maybe because of the pandemic, I don't know if it's, a mixture of a lot of different things, but I feel like people are asking for a lot more genuine content. And there's still, in my opinion, there's huge pushback from all sides. There's tons of people that I know want to be genuine, and when they try to, it doesn't work as well as they wanted to. I don't know. I find it very refreshing that that's where you want to go. I'm wondering for you, like, do you feel like the whole essence of being like a actor or on screen and being recognized for a character that you've played and all of that, has that ever bothered you by any means? I know you're saying that you're grateful, and you should be grateful, and I know that you are. I can sense it in your voice. But I know that I've heard from other interviews, I've also talked to other friends that I've had, that at a certain point, being recognized for a certain role or something is something that to some people it can be irritating. I don't know if it's for you at all. I'm not sure if it's ever gotten there, but I'm just wondering, like, how does that, I don't think many people in the music industry knows what that feels like. Like, there are people out there who've had one-hit wonders, but people don't recognize your face, they recognize your voice. But being able to recognize your face is a completely different world. And so I'm wondering for you, like, obviously I feel like you're grateful, but I'm wondering if, like, you know more about that than I do,
Right. I think it is almost 50-50. I think it's like, I am, like you said, incredibly grateful to have had that role. Like, I don't think I'd be in LA, and I wouldn't have had the experiences and success that I've managed to gain without that, obviously. But at the end of the day, like it's me going into music and putting out music as Nicholas Hamilton and not Henry Bowers, and me continuing to want to do more um, like acting roles, and the stuff that I've signed is stuff that's more authentic to me, and stuff that's me playing kind of regular people that I'm hoping will expand that. But I guess I view it as a building block. Like I stepped off it, and I'm trying to capitalize as much as I can on the people that I've and the fans that I've gained from it to make Nicholas Hamilton as big of a name as Henry Bowers, if not
Smart.
bigger.
Yeah.
I guess that's the biggest part, and that's like something like TikTok is awesome for that, because people might not, if they think of it and think back to 2017 when it came out, they might not think of me. They might not think that Henry Bowers was in it, and it's just kind of a secondary thought. They scroll through their TikTok, they see my face, it pops a little switch in their head that, oh my God, Henry Bowers. They see me singing, they're going, oh wow, he's a singer too. They follow me because they might know me from it, and they kind of want to keep in touch because of that. And then they see more music and they get more in touch with my Nicholas Hamilton side, and I'm more authentic on TikTok. And I don't know, I think that's another upside of that, is that people can see who I've been and like me and recognize me because of who I've been. And then also transition from that into a real fan of me rather than the characters I've played.
Yeah. I'm wondering, what projects are you currently, I mean, I guess this is a very cliche question. I hate asking cliche questions because I feel like they don't ever go anywhere. But I'm honestly genuinely curious, because you are in a unique position that I don't normally get to see very often. And first off, smart for capitalizing on, you know, your role in those movies. I think at the end of the day, I feel like any opportunity that's given to you, you got to embrace it and use it as best as you possibly can, and which you are. And you are using your talent and music to create stuff for you. In your eyes, what would be your ideal, I guess, career in like 10, 20 years? You know, where it's one thing to say, where do you see yourself? But, you know, if you were to imagine the perfect position for you, what would it be? Would you be a famous actor and musician, all that? Or is there something else?
Dude, I've thought about it so much, because I mean, I've been doing these interviews for a little bit about for a different year and the upcoming songs. And it's one question that is asked a lot, is that which one would I rather be in, and kind of where do I see myself in those two careers later on. And it's something that I've really wrestled with, because it's like I love doing both, and I don't know, I don't think I've been doing music long enough and releasing music long enough, and I haven't done any gigs to really know.
Just wait.
Yeah, man, dude, I can't wait. Like, I've done open mics and stuff, but I haven't ever performed my own stuff live. But it's just, yeah, I don't think I have enough experience in that regard to know that I like music more than I like acting. I think ideally I'd be able to do both. I think there's a very, very small pocket of people who have been able to be successful in both. For some reason, Selena Gomez comes to mind. Like, she's now a producer and an actor, and obviously has a big flourishing film career and music career. And Ariana Grande is another one. Like, people who are able to do both. Yeah, Jared Leto, exactly. And it's people who, but even then, you take those three examples, I think people think of Ariana Grande, they think of her as either an actor or a musician. They don't think of her as both. Right. Jared Leto, you probably think of him as an actor. I don't think a ton of people know that he's a musician in that band. Same thing with Selena Gomez.
That dates me, man.
Yeah, I could just be young. And like Selena Gomez, I think it's the same thing. I think it's a very, very rare thing that people can be actors and musicians at the same time in equal quantities. So if one has to be sacrificed for me to succeed in the other, I guess what I'm saying is that I don't think I'd be upset about whichever way it went. Like, I love acting. I love being on set. That's where I started. That's where I really want to be. But if music does take off, I love music so much. And it's such a big part of my life that if I did have to sacrifice acting to be a big musician and kind of devote more time to that, then I wouldn't be upset either way, I don't think.
Yeah. And I don't think you'd have to sacrifice anything. I think at the end of the day, it's more than just work ethic. Obviously, there's a lot of luck involved, and there's a lot of uncontrollable variables. But I do feel like the key, and I'm not speaking out of experience because I'm not a successful actor by any means, but like, I feel like a lot of the people that you've mentioned and others too that have been able to succeed in both worlds are people that have kind of spent time not, and I know again, this is cliche. I hate cliche things sometimes, but I do feel like they've spent time understanding who they are and what they can offer, as opposed to just jumping on trends, if that makes sense, which I know you're not. I know you are creating something out of your heart, out of what you find needs to be said, which again, it's important. I'm wondering, is it not dangerous, but is it ill-advised to mention publicly that you might ever consider not acting anymore? I don't know specifically, but I know that in the music world, in my experience, this isn't for everybody, but in my experience, it's almost ill-advised to say that I have other interests or I may not want to be a musician anymore, unless you've already made it, unless you've made millions. Then it's okay. You know, like if Dave Grohl ever said, "I don't want to play drums anymore. I want to open up a shop," people would line up for that. But if like an up and coming, working musician ever said that, people will look at him and say, "Oh, you're not in this then. You're not in this to win it. What are you doing?" And I've witnessed that so many times. Yeah. So I'm just wondering, in the acting world, is it the same thing?
I guess so. I mean, you probably have to ask my manager about how happy she's been about me talking about my music so much. But I think at the end of the day, like, I am so fucking young. And I don't know necessarily who I am and what I want to do. And the fact that music has only come into my life professionally like 6 months ago is, and I think that's telling in that I didn't know that that's what I really, really wanted to do, whether it be in addition to acting or instead of, until 6 months ago. And like, that's, I'm still very young and inexperienced in both fields probably. And I am willing to take that ride and take that chance of, if people are willing to hire me in either field, even though I've said that I'm not sure whether I'll be wanting to do something. I mean, I guess it's that's up to them. Like I said, my songs are who I am. They're an open book, and I stand by that. I like to be as open as I possibly can, and that's if that does cost me jobs. It's the same thing. Like I'm part of the LGBT community, and I haven't come out like publicly. Like I haven't done like the whole paragraph thing, but people know. Like my fans know. And I guess it's that worry of like, am I not going to tell a casting director that I'm gay to get a role? Like I'm always going to be.
Matter? Like, is that a huge
No, it doesn't.
deal?
But that's what I mean. Like it's the same thing with like, does saying that I might not want to be an actor full time in the future, does that matter? Like
I see what you're saying.
Is that would that change their mindset enough? And if that did change their mindset enough, maybe I don't want to work for them.
You seem so comfortable with. I mean, I know you were saying that, you're still young and you're figuring out who you are. And believe me, when I was 20, I didn't know shit. And I know that sounds cliche, and I still don't know shit. And I'm, 10 years older, but, I do find that there is this, I mean, every 20-year-old goes through that phase of, caring about others' opinions, and especially in the entertainment industry, like it's all over you. It's all around you, no matter what you do. But here I am speaking to you, and we've been talking for almost an hour, and I can pick up on little things depending on who I speak with, and based on what I gather from you, you are still 20, but you are comfortable with how things play out in a way. Like I know that you're trying to do your own thing, but I've spoken to so many 20-year-olds where it's like, I don't know why this didn't work. I don't know why that didn't work. And you are very much like, I got to do it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, moving on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I guess I'm wondering, where does that come from specifically? Because I know that it must be your personality. Maybe you were always born that way. I don't know. But to me, that's part of the reason why you are succeeding in a way. Because you're kind of just in it to win it, but you're not so focused on how it happens, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. I don't think I land in, I've thought about this before, I don't think I land in the group of people that like believe in fate, that just things happen for a reason, and what's meant to happen will happen. But at the same time, like weirdly before the pandemic, I was much more stringent, and I was much more kind of like in 2019, especially when I moved over to the States, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do this year. And then that'll lead into what's going to happen in 2020. And it was very, very specific. And then maybe in 2021, like it was very like, I knew what I wanted to happen. And then as soon as everything kind of crumbled, like 2019 really went to plan for me. I had a really phenomenal relationship for almost the whole year. And I'd signed 3 gigs, 3 acting jobs by the end of the year that were meant to film last year, but didn't.
Right. Are they on hold or are they just?
Yeah, they're on hold. Yeah, they're basically, I mean, I think I meant to shoot the first one in March, but who fucking knows?
Oh, good for you.
Thank you. But like, that's what I had. I think 2020, like 2019 went to plan for me. And then 2020 just like crumbled everything and really fucked up what I wanted to have planned. And that's why, like, that question about the 10 to 15 years thing, like, I really don't know. And it's taken me a bit to be okay with not knowing like where I'm going to be and what I'm going to do and where things are going to lead. But now I'm there. And I think releasing music to me, like, I'm taking it a song at a time. And if one of the songs blows up and it turns into a record label or turns into a possible like tour when tours are allowed, then that's great. That's fucking phenomenal. But at the very least, if my music gets enough streams to complement my acting career and for people to know more about me in that regard, then that's great too. Like, I think every scenario that could happen, even if the music flops, I've still got acting on my side. And I don't know, I'm very content with what is going to happen whenever it'll happen. And I think it leads into like the Australian thing too. If I do have to go home, like, I can go home and gig. I can go home and make movies because there's things filming there. Like, I'm taking it all by day by day, by minute. And I think it's the healthiest way to be right now.
Yeah. I imagine that, and this doesn't have to be in the interview, but I'm just wondering, I imagine that your relationship with your significant other, is that still going or did that end?
No, that ended. That was actually a line in Different Year. So you can put it in the podcast. It's in the bridge of Different Year. I said that we broke up the day before my birthday, and that was true.
Damn.
So it was May 3rd of last year that we broke up. It was just over a year of a relationship.
Wow. Did that have anything to do with like the whole pandemic and having to be closed away, or was it just a relationship that didn't work?
I think it was just one that didn't work. It was maybe the pandemic like made the not working go quicker. But I think at the end of the day, it was always just not going to work. But that led into like, I was content for a year of, he was out in Utah. And I was content for a full year and a bit of going out there pretty much every second weekend and not really working as hard as I would have if I didn't. And once that was over, that was May. And then I wrote all May, June, July. And then we recorded the first session of this next single, actually, which is the first song that we recorded in early August, late July. So that's like, it just kind of, it made me work harder. And that's what I mean by I'm taking things by minute by minute. Like, it sucked. It fucking sucked to break up with someone that you've been with for so long. And especially in a pandemic when you can't like rebound as easy as you want to.
Yeah.
But like it forced me to go into music and really care about it more and make it a real, like a reality.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm taking things by minute.
You're not alone in that. I feel like a lot of people have, this pandemic has tested a lot of relationships. You know, I'm fortunate to be with someone that I like very dearly,
right.
But even still, like, that has had come with its challenges, you know, and being alone in a room for like an entire year with anybody would test your patience. And I guess one thing that I'm wondering, because I read this somewhere and I'm wondering what you think. I read this article that during the pandemic, it's challenged many people to, especially men, specifically men, to really try to understand themselves better and ask themselves, like, who are they friends with? Because they can't see their normal friends as much anymore. Maybe right now they can, but at least for an entire year, they weren't able to. So many guys who don't normally think about this stuff were forced to kind of confront themselves and confront their habits and confront their friendships and relationships. And I feel like it's kind of 50-50. Some people have learned from that. Some people have diven even, how do you say that? Dove in even deeper. And so to me, it sounds like you have been improving in terms of like you coming to terms with who you are, what you want, that sort of thing. But do you find that amongst the people that you do know, is that a common trend that you see people are trying to figure themselves out more during this pandemic, or are people just trying to ignore it?
I think you're exactly right saying it's 50-50. People, I've got friends who have shut themselves away for literally since February last year. Like people who have, as soon as it was starting to get real, they stopped seeing their friends and they shut themselves away. And that's just kind of who they are and the personality that they have. But I specifically have taken this kind of time, even if it's subconsciously, to work on myself and be to grow and be more mature and be the stuff that made that relationship not work out. That was on me. Like that stuff. I realize what that is now, and I kind of know how to change that and make myself a better person, not only for me but for the people around me. And I think that's healthy. I mean, I'm not a therapist, and as much as I do condone therapy, talking to someone else about your problems is phenomenal, and everyone should do it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think it is 50-50. I think especially guys, I've seen that they go into either a hole or they come out a new person. And that's what's really cool, is that coming out as a new person now seems to mean being more progressive, and like in this generation especially, like people who might not have viewed people as they might have viewed people in a more kind of bigoted fashion. People are learning more how to be nicer and be a better person in quarantine, which is really cool. But I guess we won't really know the results of that until everything's back to normal and we can go outside and see if people are assholes or not.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's one thing that we can always agree on. There will always be assholes.
There's always going to be assholes.
There's always going to be assholes. But I do feel like for me, this pandemic has, even before the pandemic started, I started working more on myself in terms of like who I was. And, for me, one of the biggest issues was my need for control. We were talking about this earlier, but as luck would have it, during the pandemic, I was going through my whole Saturn return shit. I'm not sure if anyone's into astrology or anything of that, but it's a whole thing. And after, oddly enough, it's actually ending right about now. But my whole concept is it did sort of force me to look into who I am and just appreciate all of my flaws. But I learned through experience that, and again, cliche, but I sort of learned, rather than to look at my flaws as like a bad thing, as like, wow, horrible. I learned to take responsibility for them. Like, yeah, I did that. I did this. I did that. And I'm not going to do that anymore. And then you just move on and then you become a better person.
100%. Fully. I'm with you. I'm with you there.
I love it, man. You're a pretty wise dude. I feel like I can talk to you for a very long time, but I know that you probably got stuff to do. And so I guess to sort of start winding things down, I want to know a little bit about some of the stuff that you've got on the horizon. I know that you said that you have some projects in the works, some music that you're going to release, some auditions that you're working on. I don't know how much we're able to know, but I'm just curious if you can give us a sneak peek of what you got going on.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I've been working my ass off for the last year to make this year I was working my ass off in 2019 to make 2020 awesome, and 2020 sucked. So
everyone can agree on that.
Yeah, everyone agreed on that. So I've kind of pushed everything from 2020 and all my goals and kind of everything that I wanted to do to this year. And if they happen, then that's great. But the plan is, you guys already know, my debut single's out. It's out everywhere. By the time this comes out, No Room, my second single with Savs will be out. And maybe even my third one. But then they're all leading up to an EP later in the year. Just getting stuff out there, man, really doing what I want to do in music and making sure that people listen to that and care about me as a person. I think that's my main goal. But also, yeah, if I can film the stuff that I'm supposed to film by like the end of the year, then that would be pretty phenomenal. But if not, then I'm just going to keep working on what I like doing.
I love it. And when's your EP due? Like what month?
Late March, I think.
Late March. Cool,
Yeah.
man. And then what are we allowed to know anything of the film projects that you're involved with? I imagine not.
Yeah, I think one's been announced. It was I'm shooting in Philly. I'm meant to be shooting in Philly. An indie with Jared Harris, who was in Chernobyl, and he's a phenomenal British actor. That's one I'm really really excited about. I think I signed that job like a year and a half ago, so it's been a minute since I've been able to even talk to them about it, to the crew about it. But hopefully we can film that by the end of the year. I think that'd be really cool.
That's cool. What's the project about?
It's like similar to like Good Will Hunting. Weirdly enough, it's a true story about this this teacher in Lancaster County in Philadelphia back in the day, who took this kid under his wing, this orphan kid who went to his high school, and took him under his wing and turned him around for the better. And it's really really heartbreaking and like awards baity. That something I haven't really done before as a lead, so I'm really really excited to kind of delve into that and make. I mean, it's been 2 years of prepping for it, so hopefully I'm good at it.
Wow, man, you're gonna be the lead. That's cool, man.
Yeah, it will be fun, man.
Yeah, I love that, man. And the movie sounds pretty cool. I'm very, very happy for the things that you are doing. I'm also very happy to hear that you are in a much better, not saying much better because I didn't know you before, but it sounds like you are in a place where you are mentally healthy and you're progressing forward and you're doing what you want and you're being honest, which is the most important thing, I believe, in the music industry specifically. And I am excited for some of the things that you're going to do because it seems like you're going to be amazing. And you're going to make a cameo as Henry Bauer in that movie, right?
I think so, yeah.
Well, Nicholas, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be on the show. I really appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
And wishing you luck, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it very much.